things to get set up. Cat here for a minute as well. Let's see where. How's it going, Johnny? Okay. Impromptu stream for the morning. So, I'm gonna entertain the cat duty here for a few minutes if I don't want my legs to get attacked. And I don't want my legs to get attacked, so I'll be doing that for a minute. I'm playing with hooking up plants. I think I found one new hobby: electronics and plants. Nice. Things like moisture sensors and things like this, or like automated light schedules and nice IoT. This may end up being of interest to you. I will say I'm basically starting from scratch though, so there won't be necessarily anything super usable right away. I wouldn't expect, but we'll see where we end up with. So today I'm gonna work on something a bit different. The main thing oh no, is this really gone to black? Please tell me it will come back from this. Okay. Okay. That went dead on me again. Got it all set up though. So today, let me change that setting so that I don't hear myself like that again. The thing I want to work on today is on the Raspberry Pi, which I have messed with on stream a little bit before, but it's not necessarily the thing I do most frequently. Most often we're working on microcontroller stuff. The Raspberry Pi is a full Linux computer. With a bit more horsepower than most of the microcontrollers. But I have recently gotten hooked up the way to feed it into the PC like this as a screen. And so I figured I should do some streaming just to try it out. Did I not click on... Oh, okay. Where is configuration? Where is like the desktop? Like, don't fall asleep mostly is what I'm interested in. Which I think it used to be called screensaver config, I thought, in the Raspberry Pi I was using yesterday. So what I have here, I should introduce this a bit more instead of just going into it. What I have here is a Raspberry Pi that is basically fresh, just imaged the SD card for it yesterday. The only thing I've done is power it up and like let it update itself and connect it to the network and things like that. How's it going, DJ Devin? Let me scroll up back here. Oh, nice. Cool. Okay, so you've got let's see, my Florida, Bluetooth sensors, moisture, nutrition, plus soil temperature and lighting. Nice. Got a couple of nice looking dashboards with some of the information to feed back for you. Browser is that gonna go to? Nice. Yeah. So this kind of dashboard looking thing here is a similar idea to what I'm after, for sure. Night card and home assistant. So I have the Pi pretty much fresh right here. I do want to find the screensaver settings. Where is the screensaver settings? Why is it not? Here's screensaver settings anymore. Under appearance? I'm already in appearance here. Yeah, that's the same thing I'm already in. Anyway, though, I'll talk while I'm doing this. I want to basically set up a server that's going to run on the Pi that is going to get information fed to it from various places. Some information can come from connected devices. Sensor that is connected to the Raspberry Pi. This stemma cable is connected to these things here. So like local data source connected to the Pi, but then we could also have remote data sources like a microcontroller that has Wi-Fi and its own sensors. Screen blanking. Headless resolution? No. What? Really? Why would that? Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. We may end up having to reboot at some point anyway, and then I guess we will, but I'm not going to do it just for that. Some kind of video buffer issue. Audio sounds good. Well, so, I mean, for one thing, we're going through the Pi, and the mouse is, like, really slow. So if you're talking about the way the mouse is really slow and the interface and all that stuff, that is just because it is the Pi, as far as I know. I suppose I can't necessarily prove it's not the USB thing, but that we have to live with. That's just the best I can do it. Also, I will say my camera's a little slow as well in the preview. But also that we have to live with, unfortunately. That's just how it's going to be. This one looks a little stuttery in the preview as well. Probably we're overwhelming it by having so many video things going on, truthfully. The camera for me plus the camera for the Pi. We'll see how it goes. If it's like unbearable, I'll try to turn some stuff off. Lips not moving with the audio. The camera would make sense. Could try turning this off. I don't know if that will make it any better. Ooh, interesting. We still here? Okay. Yeah, I don't want to mess with it too much more also, because OBS just tried to like force quit or wait on me, so I don't want to jack with too much. If it's like unwatchable, then probably I'll just turn the stream off. If it's like still enough to be interesting, then I'll keep going. We'll see what we can do. Partially, I'm trying to test all this stuff out as well. So if it turns out that the test is that it doesn't work very good, then unfortunately that's a thing you find from testing sometimes. Audio sounds fine, just like regular stream. Yeah, probably we're just overwhelming the video, honestly, by having so many cameras. My best guess. The face camera is still blue. I wonder if it's still processing it. I don't really know how to I guess I could walk over and unplug it. I don't really know how to make sure that it's not like trying to use the face camera. I'll try unplugging it. I don't know. We'll see. That may freak stuff out. A bit better. The Pi will still be slow through here, so like anything that's inside the Pi's GUI, the mouse in here, all the windows in here, the terminal, all of that stuff will probably look laggy, but that's laggy for me as well. We'll try like this. Hopefully it's bearable at least. Okay, so we got the, so we have the Pi. We want to run a server inside of here. The server is going to collect data from various places. It could be local, like this one here. It could be remote, like a separate Feather that has its own sensor that will connect over the network. We want to make a nice, pretty dashboard that will show that stuff to us. And technically, we're going to have it set up to where it could have multiple users. I don't really intend for it to necessarily use multiple users for my use case, but like the way it's set up, you could actually have like, you know, user A has these sensors or data sources or whatever, and all of their stuff is collected together, and user B exists over here, and they have their own data sources and stuff. All their stuff exists in their own little thing. Sort of like Adafruit.io, if you think of it from Adafruit's perspective more so than like your user's perspective, basically. We're going to make a dashboard out of this thing because I want to try out using this thing. Hug report also, I think it was Neardoc. I'll have to scroll up to be certain. I think it was Neardoc pointed us here to this project. We were looking for icons yesterday, and somebody pointed me to the Wi-Fi, or I was looking for a Wi-Fi icon. Somebody pointed me to the icons for this Tabler project. And I was reading more about this project, and it seems super cool. So this is another thing we can kind of tie together here. It's a nice looking, where's like the base? Find the base Tabler. It's just a nice looking web framework kind of thing, basically, a front-end framework. So we're going to make a Django server. We're going to use this thing to make a pretty front end. We're going to be able to submit data into the server. We're going to be able to see like charts and current information and things like that. Ideally, kind of pie in the sky goal would be like user could actually kind of define their own dashboards, which is how it works in Adafruit.io as well. We'll see how far down that road we get, because I am mostly interested in showing myself the information from my sensors more so than like a general tool, but I kind of want to build it enough to be general to be able to add more sensors as I want. So that is kind of the goal. There won't be too much CircuitPython code, definitely not as much as normal. A lot of this will be Django, which is in the CPython world. For the front end, obviously, integrating this stuff, it will be, you know, a lot of HTML, probably JavaScript, CSS, things like this. But I will say where I am going to start, the very, very, very first thing I'm going to do is actually more on the CircuitPython side, or more specifically the Blinka side, since we have a Raspberry Pi here. I have connected this sensor. It's a temperature and humidity sensor. I have not done anything besides connect it, though. So the very first thing I'm going to do is just get data out of my sensor. Because if I build this whole other system to put data into, and then it turns out that I can't get data into it, that will be pretty anticlimactic. So that is our first step along this probably fairly long journey. Read data out of the sensor. It was Neardoc. Tabler icons are cool. 100% agreed. Yeah, the icons are really cool. Honestly, the entire project seems really cool. It's a really permissively licensed front-end framework that looks really nice. It has a white and a dark. Yeah, I don't know. I've only scrolled through it a little bit, but I've liked a lot of what I've seen so far. It seems like a really cool thing. I then found this Django Tabler, which is like a starter app for Django that has this thing already kind of ready to go for you as well. For those that don't know, Django is a Python web framework that allows you to build web applications that have databases, and it has a bunch of built-in stuff like user accounts and logins and an admin dashboard that lets you modify all your data. Tons of stuff is built in, and you kind of customize it to fit your needs. This as well. Never heard of Tabler, love a good. Yeah, agreed. Okay. So read data, step one, we go back to the Pi. We need to get Blinka set up and running on the Pi. Do I want to load this on the Pi? We might want to be copy pasting, I guess, right? I don't know, my first instinct is to load this on the PC rather than the Pi, because I know the Pi's browser and just everything is going to be slower. Let's see if we end up wanting to copy anything. I could also connect through SSH maybe and copy things if we needed to. So we need this. Python on the Raspberry Pi. Don't need libraries actually yet. I mean, we will, but we need to do the base install first. Blinko we need to get. We need to probably enable I2C, which is actually also probably going to be requiring a reboot. This stuff should be done. Although I guess I didn't check apt specifically. I did let it do its own updates. Ooh, interesting. Is minimize next to X? No, that's definitely maximize. Dyslexic? Is that pointing down? No, yep. Only was pointing up. Hopefully there's not a lot of updates, because I did just install this yesterday and I actually let it run its own. It like popped up to the GUI and said it wanted to update stuff, and I let it go. It went for a while. Hopefully that was like doing this in the background. It's something about RDP on the Pi, remote desktop on the Pi. Oh, interesting. Okay, all packages up to date, and then let's go sudo up. Oh, yeah, I might actually, I may actually jump to SSH for some of this as well. Sudo apt upgrade. Because the other thing is the keyboard that is connected to the Pi is kind of a regular keyboard, and I will say I'm kind of used to my weird keyboard at this point. Following one was automatically installed, is no longer required. Libfuse 2, I don't know, that's fine. We'll keep that. We don't need to worry about it yet. I think we already have pip. Let's double check though. How's it going, Dave Odessa? Yeah, happy Sunday. Hope happy Sunday for you as well. I think we, like I said, I think we should have pip already. We go like pip -- version. Yeah, Python 3.9. We have pip 20 - whatever. Setup tools. Probably we have setup tools, I assume, but let's get some SSH action here. Oh, which I think you also need to enable, actually. SB config. Is there a dash? It's a dash. Okay. So we need to do a few things. I don't know. The Learn Guide probably tells us this somewhere in there, but I happen to know them. I'm going to be using I2C. We definitely want to enable that. Could probably enable Spy while we're here as well, honestly. I don't have a specific plans on using Spy right now, but also don't really have a reason not to enable it, and it will, I assume, require rebooting. I also want SSH, which is also under interface. Okay. Anything else we need in here? Remote access to GPI opens? Okay. I don't know. Do we have to reboot or 119? Should I have done username? Okay. Now we have SSH to the Pi as well. So this terminal is on my PC, but it's still connected to the Raspberry Pi. Whereas, using myself with the layers here, whereas this terminal here, this is actually on the Pi itself, and I have a separate keyboard to control it. And this is helpful because this one I can paste into, although it seems to have done something weird, so. Just got a Pi I haven't even powered on yet. Too many projects. I have too many Pis, and one will power my arcade someday. Nice. Yeah, I do end up having, I actually do have a couple extra Pis myself as well, because I ended up with some at the end of a work project that we used them on. So I have a stack of like 5 or 6 Pi 3s. A couple of them are in use, and some of them are in use sometimes, temporarily. I use them for camera sometimes. It's successfully installed. Okay, good to go. Buy stuff. Be a really cool Sunday stream. Nice. Glad you think that. Python just ran into a situation where it might need transparency. Anyone know if PNG support? It does not have transparency. Well, it does not have transparency in that if you make a PNG with transparency in it and then you just do nothing else in the code, it will not work. It will not show your transparency. Obviously, showing transparency is the opposite of showing, but it will not draw what you want it to. It will draw probably black or something. I don't know for sure what, but if you have a PNG that is indexed, you can use make transparent the same way that you can with a bitmap, though. So you can have green screen or pink or whatever you want and clip it out that way with like chroma, the same way that you can bitmap. I'm pretty sure. And if you have a PNG with transparent in it and you call make transparent with the correct thing, I think it will work, but I don't know what the correct thing is. It's like 0 or black, or I don't know what it is. Probably not black. Adafruit Python shell? Oh, interesting. This is a bit different than I did last time, I think. Okay, let's give this a try. So I'm already here. I don't think I need this. I've not installed this way before. Like last time I installed Blinka, it was just like pip install Blinka, and then it kind of ran through a bunch of, there was like a page with a bunch of stuff to do. I wonder if this does those interface things too. Either off or on needs semi-transparency. Oh, semi-transparency? Yeah, that I don't think either. I definitely don't think it supports that. Like, you know, like partially transparent red overlaid on top of some other color or something. I don't think it works like that. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you, though. I had tested PNGs very briefly at one point. I don't remember 100% of what I found on there. Download this thing with wget. There's actually one line, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so that downloaded this file right here. Kind of curious to take a look at. It's probably a decent idea if you're gonna just download a random Python file and run it to like look inside of it, maybe briefly. I don't know. I wouldn't certainly would not think there would be anything problematic, but kind of nice to see what it's gonna do as well. Oh, interesting. You can do those as individual commands. I didn't know that. See, that's the other nice thing about looking inside of stuff. You see things like this. It's interesting that 0 would be enable, though, right? Wouldn't you think 0 would be disable and 1 would be enable? I guess they use 0 as, like, successful a lot, though. Some of this stuff is already done. Okay, I assume we just run this? Yeah, sudo, oh, run it with sudo. Sudo python raspberry blinka. I don't think we need Python 3 because Python already does point to Python 3. Assume it goes to the same thing, yeah. Uh-oh, low pressure. How's it going, Axel? Running into issues finding a way to make that happen. Yeah, I do not. I mean, the only way that I know of to make it happen, which you probably won't want to hear, is like cheat and splice your images on the computer so that you're not actually using transparency on the microcontroller. Instead, you're showing a hard-coded version, if you know what I mean. Like, layer your transparency inside of Photoshop or GIMP, and then import those now images that look transparent, and then it's like hard set to your background as well. So it's like, this is a very cheater effect that doesn't work generally, but if you need it on top of a specific thing, and it doesn't change, then you could do that. But if you do need it to be dynamic and to change, I do not know of a way to make it work. Nice. Yeah, if you're willing to cheat ahead of time and like preset, I mean, I call it cheating. It's not cheating at all in any way, shape, or form, truthfully. But I call it that because it's like not the conventional way to do something, but you can achieve the visual effect that way. How's it going, Johnny? I think I said that before, but you're over in the YouTube chat now. Reboot? Yeah, I think we will go ahead and reboot. Hopefully it will just come back up and connect to the HDMI thing again. Nice thing about this, though, is that the Pi itself is just fed its video through, so like the stream and nothing else should be affected by the reboot. You can even see the like pre-OS stuff here. It's kind of cool. Trust? The mouse. You can control it. Okay, that's a good sign. Background. I assume we have the same IP. Nice. You're installing an older version. Nope, don't have that. Did take a few minutes, but it's done now. It rebooted. Okay. It's good. It's ever so slightly different than the output here. I actually seem to have two I2Cs instead of one, which is interesting. I'm not going to worry about the second SPI, and in fact, there's already two showing. I don't know if that means that it's enabled or not, but yeah, no, I don't. Oh, that's getting up to. Oh, that's getting a lot more. Yeah, no, that's getting a lot more SPI. I don't know. Yeah, we don't. I'm not going to be using SPI right away, so. Um. Sure, we can try this. What's the best way to get this into there? I think let's copy this. Let's go here. Let's go nano. Okay, obviously that is the wrong keyboard. Nano. Test blinket. Digital IO okay. I2C SPI. Okay, good. Basically, uh-oh, tropical storm warning. Happened. Oh, just in the pop-up out of nowhere. A few miles off the coast, jeez. Oh yeah, the pressure. I don't know if this one does pressure. Pressure would be a good thing to be able to feed into the system as well. So the ideas I have for building this are to keep it generic enough that it could feed in any type of sensors that you want. Test. Oh, I named mine differently. That's fine though. Okay. So is there I2C? Let's open this up as well. Hopefully I'm not doing clock stretching. I'm not sure. Doesn't that depend on the device? Certain I2C sensors. I don't think we're doing those, hopefully. Trying to stay away from sensors that need weird stuff like that. So I have not a BME20, I have a SI 7021 connected. So this will not be the exact same code. We can use some of this. This should be interesting. This should tell us if there is any addresses connected. Which there should be, hopefully, because there's a device connected. 40. Now, is 40 the default address for the SI 7021? Hopefully. So then we're pretty much in business. I do want to do a bit more and actually read data from it, but if we do get that far, then I think chances are very good. The I2C address. Forty is what was connected for us. Nice. Okay. So next then let's get actual data. In order to do that, we're going to use this. Copy that code. Copied, okay. Nano sensor. No, let's go SI7021 test. So this will import some stuff, initialize I2C, built-in stemma connector? Are there any Raspberry Pis or like Blinka single board computers with stemma? That'd be cool. Initialize sensor, the heater. What does that even mean? Heater level? I don't know. The heater be. Got it in there. I would have to go to like the data sheet or something. Honestly, I probably won't understand it if I find it, so skip it for now. Whoops. Warning's not currently active. Would need to be below about 1,000 millibars pressure. Just a demo for developing. Nice. In the chat this morning, ran into a clock stretching issue with BME 280. Weird coincidence. I feel like I see a lot of, especially like those B&O, like these B&O 55s, a couple of these ones I see come up time and time again. I've never tried to use one personally, but I see that pop up time and time again where people are trying to do it and there's weirdness with it. And I have kind of internalized that if ever I need a temperature sensor, that is not probably going to be the one I reach for. The BME 680, I will say, I'm interested in using as well because it has a gas sensor also. Okay, so this has initialized. We have a loop, which is just going to go every 2 seconds, pull the temperature and the humidity and print them out, which should be fine. So exit this, save that, and then I think if we just run this, right? Obviously the module is not found because we haven't installed it. That's not the right thing to install it though. We need the pip install, right? I don't think we need sudo. I don't know if we need sudo. Could be using a virtual environment. I guess we'll probably eventually want. Will you want a virtual environment for Django? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. On my computer, I will, I guess. But on the Pi, I just install it in the base interpreter. So I find that easier. Add register. Add user register. Module. Okay, maybe we do need sudo then, because apparently sudo gets its own installs. So we'll uninstall this for the user, and then we'll go back and do sudo instead. Okay. And then I guess, does it say? Doesn't have the example of running it exactly, so I don't know if we have to run it. I mean, I would assume you'd have to run it with sudo as well, right then? So if we do it like this, then we're not going to have the library? Or no, it does have the library, but it does have that thing again. Uh-oh. Now we have this no matter what. Add register? Add user 1 register. (3a). 0 does not equal 3a. It's pretty true, I guess. 0 does not equal 3a. Bus device? Bus device surely got installed by that install script? Yeah. So this says init line 153. The user 1 settings are correct. Add user 1 register. Might just grab a different sensor. Oops. I don't know if this is like a thing specific to this one. Let's double check the wiring. But I mean, the wiring has to be good because we got the address. And it's reading a register from the thing. Like, we're communicating with it successfully. It's just like this value doesn't equal what it's supposed to, so we can't do anything. I wish there was like what does user 1 mean? Such a generic name for a thing that doesn't really tell us like how do we make the value be what it's supposed to be? Heater, I guess we could go try to find more about heater. Doesn't have user 1 in the entire datasheet. User 1 is E7. How's it going, C. Grover? And Keith as well? Bad user. HTA, BME, BMP used to be the most reliable for reading. No idea how they work with Blinka though. Yeah, I'm pretty close to, I think, just trying another sensor. I guess two things I want to try before I just give up entirely and try another sensor would be, reading this from microcontroller to see if we get the same thing or not. Yeah, that's really the only thing, I suppose. Looking this up, maybe? I don't know. It's weird to me that this is called read user 1. And user 1 just doesn't exist. There's one user register. Allows the user to set the configuration. Like, the truth is, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm looking at. I don't know what this is. Sequence to read a register. I don't know. I have zero idea what this entire section is trying to present, unfortunately. It's weird though, because it doesn't, nothing in this section says E7 or 3A. Zero does not equal 3A. So it looks like we found 0 instead of 3A. Why do we want 3A? User register. Chip heater? Is that really just generate heat? User register 1. Like user 1 is the I2C address? I don't think it's an I2C address. I don't know though. User 1 instead of I2C address or something? Okay. I'm gonna get a regular stemma cable and a different sensor. Regular stemma cable, we can try this on a microcontroller because I'm curious, and then another sensor because it seems like we might need a different sensor. Is 3A one of the hex values being written? Let's see. I have now a AH20 to try instead, and then I have a stemma cable for which to connect this to a microcontroller instead of sorry. I'm like lost because I don't have PyCharm open. We weren't actually looking inside PyCharm yet. So it add user, I mean, no, 3A is the value it's expecting. 3A is the value that it's wanting to read. Shows the binary value for 3A. Okay, 6.1. Reset settings. Settings. So in the code, it's doing, so it's reading, well, the read command is E7. And then when it gets a response, it's testing that response to see if it equals 3A. So it goes here, goes reset, then it goes while true, and it says data byte array, says data is a byte array that contains that E7. Then it says with device as I2C, write then read into data value equals data 0. So write and then read into, assume that writes the value of it into the I2C and then reads back something which is going to be here. Yeah, try except else. I don't really recall what that does, truthfully. But that's what's used here, and then this is where it was raising, so we must have broke. We must have broke, and then we got to here, and we tested the value that we got out of this against user 1 val, which that's our 3A. We tested that against that, and then it was not equal. So we raised runtime exception, and our value was 0. Because it says 0 is not equal 3A. So we apparently read a 0 back out of this. And then just raised an exception. Yeah. I don't know if it's the Pi's. I don't know if it's the Pi's fault. We'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna try microcontroller. This is a S2. Are gonna make PyCharm now. Value might never be written to it. Might try to run I2C, run into error, not OS error, and then broke out via the else break. Could be. Reading 0 indicates wiring problem. If the wiring was bad, could it still have a proper I2C address though? I mean, I'll double check the wiring, but I feel like if the wiring was wrong, it seems like we shouldn't see not an IP IP address, an I2C address. But we did run the I2C scanner thing earlier, and we found. I mean, well, let's try it again, I guess, though. I don't know what that thing was called. This thing. We have an address. I feel like we wouldn't see that if it wasn't wired, but technically this is closest thing to what I have. Technically my Pi is upside down also from this. I can't really do anything about. Wow, that's very transparent. Oh, what? No. Okay. I have red on what is effectively the bottom right pin of the 2 rows of headers. Red in my case, so I have female to female connectors that then go to male jumper to stemma. So I have red to red, goes into stemma. I have black, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th down. Black is then connected to black on the stemma. And I do not have yellow and blue. I have brown right next to red. Right next to red is brown, and brown is connected to blue. I did that because they both start with B, brown and blue. Orange is the next one, and orange is connected to yellow. And then those plug into the stemma. I think it's wired correct. Gonna unwire it now though by going, what should we disconnect first? Should we be disconnecting power first? That feels like the right thing. Theoretically, we should no longer have that address. Okay, perfect. Looks correct to me. Sensor LED is on, so yeah, getting power for sure. I will try the stemma just direct to a microcontroller. It could be just a bug in the library, or I mean, my hunch is maybe that it's not waiting long enough, or something like, or kind of like Keith, maybe what Keith said, like it's running into some error that's not an OS error. Because that totally would just bail. Right? Maybe there's a different kind of error. We should maybe like print the exception if we could, or the stack trace, or at least like try to figure out what's going on. I'm gonna try a microcontroller though, because if it's the same over here, then we could file an issue. Try to fix it. I probably won't try to fix it today, but Man, I'm really glad that I tested this out first, because like if I had built up the whole system to store data and then made it to here and been like, oh, I can't read data. All right, this is a MQTT simple test, more or less. Could those pins be wrong? What was in that test? I wonder if board.i2c doesn't work. Let's try that real fast. Oh, it's unplugged. Okay, yeah, let's keep going on the microcontroller. That might be it. I think that might be it. Probably we can't use board.i2c. I wouldn't, probably is a bit strong, I suppose. Maybe. Let's go with maybe. Okay, this should fail because we don't have the library. Surprised that I actually connected fast enough to get to that. Be interesting if this exception would print a line that is the circup line that you could run. Okay, yeah, that's working fine on the microcontroller. So it's not just the library's bugged and doesn't work. So that's good. So we're gonna unplug the microcontroller and get back to the Pi. It is connected differently. To the Feather, it's just straight up stemma on both sides, but obviously the Raspberry Pi doesn't have a stemma, so we can't do it on that side. However, I am pretty sure the wiring I had was correct. We do get to redo it now, though, so we have another chance to get it right if it wasn't. I also don't know the correct order to be connecting them. I'm going to assume ground seems like we should be connecting ground first. I'm going to connect ground. I think I'm going to connect ground, like basically the reverse of what I did before. Ground first, and then data wires, and then power. So blue connects to brown. Blue and brown both start with B. Orange connects to yellow. Sorry, I know you can't see this. Not really in frame of the camera anyway, even if I did switch back to it. Okay, this is wired back. Green light's on, so it has power. Let's run this thing so we can check the grid. Got an address on 40. I am thinking that that's gotta be it. So let's try taking this line here. Go nano SI. Let's just comment that. New line, paste. Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that would be the same, but maybe it just doesn't initialize board.spy for Blinka. That's my best guess. I mean I2C, not spy. Fingers crossed. Should we do sudo or not? We got the same results with and without sudo, so I feel like maybe it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna try without. SIO is not defined. I guess that's fair. Ground first, power last. Nice. Okay, that was my inclination. Glad that my instincts are right. Same thing. Yeah, I got no other ideas, so we're gonna try a different one. Maybe that'll be an exercise time during the week. Oh, the camera died also. You could try double checking to make sure that they show the rest of the pinout though. So it does have blue is SDA. Let me lay this is upside down. We're using these top couple of pins on this left side. It's 3-volt power. Are we supposed to be using 5-volt power? I2C is usually 3 volts? Let's say just V plus. Should be fine. Let's say serial data, SDA. Serial clock is the next one, which is yellow. So that does match. Yeah, that matches what we have. Matches how we have it wired. Weird, I don't know. Okay, let's try this other one. I have an AH20. AHT20, apparently. Wiring should be the same, truthfully. Revolt DCC. Ground. I have to wonder if it's like just not waiting long enough or something. My best guess, but we'd have to go through and like step through the library code. Orange to yellow, which is clock. Blue to brown, which is data. Red to red, which is you have power on that thing. So, yeah, I guess we're back to not really knowing if we need sudo. I feel like we don't need sudo. The reason why I think we might not need sudo is because there was a PR for the NeoPixel library that basically made it so that you could use NeoPixels on the Raspberry Pi without sudo by making use of the SPI pin. So I know that SPI can work without sudo, and we're using I2C, which is similar, so I am thinking it's likely that it can. But we'll find out. I'll keep trying sudo if it's not working. I feel like the way that it's not working, the other chip, implies that the communication, the actual I2C is working fine. But it's just that that sensor is expecting something different to happen for some reason. So we do have board I2C again, so I guess we get to check on that one again. Let's give it a try. Let it stay how it is. Save that. Yeah. Got temperatures, no problem. 24C. I don't really know. Put my coffee cup close by, which happens to be iced coffee, so we're able to drive the temperature down a bit there. Okay. Took that back away, so it should start climbing again, especially if I put my hand near it. But my hand's kind of cold. So I'm holding my coffee. Okay, yeah, I don't know. SI 7021 has something weird going on. Maybe that's one of those clock stretching ones, and I just don't know about it. That could be as well. Either way, we were having issues with it. We're not with this, so this is what I'm going to roll with for now. Temperature, humidity, we got them both coming in good right here. So close that. Next thing we want. Django. Do we want to start from... this tabular Django, or do I want to start from... Well, first thing we're gonna do is get some music going. On my own front page of YouTube. That's kind of weird. Okay. Do I want to start? I think I want to try starting with this this one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I may end up restarting with a more bare bones one. I think I want to try starting from this because I know I want to use this tabular UI. So the way this works, I'm not using Docker. I have a, I need to give Docker another chance, but I haven't yet. So Docker and I don't get along currently. Clone that, make a virtual environment, install the stuff, initialize the DB. Okay. I'm gonna clone that stuff and then, because I'll want to rename it. I want to make my own app as well, kind of. Okay, let's start by cloning it. This is on the Raspberry Pi. I'm gonna clone it on my PC. I'm gonna clone it on my PC. It's more so CircuitPython, but it's not like CircuitPython directly. I mean, really, this one, actually, we can start the other. Clone that. So first thing I'm going to do is just open that and run it and look around for a minute. Why are we, like, at the full-on root here? This is weird. A new window. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna let it make a. I'm gonna go ahead and let it make a Django. I mean, make a virtual environment, because I do. I mean, I don't know what's defined in here. I'm gonna try to use the newest of everything, except for that says Django 3.2. Couple. So I will say I kind of already wish we were on a newer version of Django. I'm tempted to try a newer one. Let's see if we get it running normally though. What's this mad about? Django's not importable in this environment. Why not? Didn't you install the requirements? Isn't that what that thing was just talking about? Okay. Apparently, maybe I was just impatient. Maybe it wasn't done yet or something. I don't know. Okay, so now this server should be running on port 8000. The problem is going to be, though, I did not initialize the database, so it's probably just going to tell us that we can't actually see anything because there's no database. Indeed. So let's fix that. In this case, we need to run Python manage.py, which is a Django management command thing. This thing allows you to interact with your project in various ways, like starting new parts of your project or initializing your database or doing all kinds of other things. That one off. So we'll go make migrations because that will tell it to basically look at all the definitions for all the database objects and build the migration files which tell the database how to create everything it needs. Next, we're going to run migrate because we want it to actually go ahead and create everything it needs. I'm curious. It may not. I don't know if it will even have models, honestly. I guess there's some here, but nothing defined. I mean, authentication will have models or not. I mean, Django has its own user, I guess. Register user. Ideally, I would get away from declaring all of these myself, although, I don't know, maybe it's worth it to keep them. Anyway, we should have a database now. Let's run this. There we go. Got a page this time. It says add your credentials or create your own user. Which feel like the same thing to me, if I'm honest. I don't think there is a default user, so we could create a user like this. Or authenticate. Will this log you? No, okay, that's a link, I see. Okay. You created. Okay, boom, we're logged in. Technically, this is what's making it dark, I think, but it does have its own darkness. I don't know how to turn it on, though. There's all this stuff built in, which is awesome. Okay, one thing I want to look at is the admin, although I suspect it's not going to let me go into admin, yeah, because I'm not a super user. I probably should not have created that user, honestly. That's what we're going to do. We're going to sign out. We're going to stop the server. We're going to go back to manage.py. I'm going to... Why would it need an email if it's running locally? It probably doesn't need an email. I don't know if it would succeed or not if I didn't put the email in. The idea, though, is that ultimately we're gonna... It could be running remotely. It might not be local only. I have not talked too much about that portion of this project, but eventually the goal here is you would run this on a Raspberry Pi in your house or wherever, but we would also have another component that actually links it up to the internet to where you could log into the server through the internet, even though it's running on the Pi inside your house, if that makes sense. Like, you could be outside your house on vacation or whatever, and you could log into it through the internet down to the Pi, essentially. And realistically, my guess is they put email in it just because, like, that's a standard thing, honestly. Right? I think they just set it up as, like, email is pretty much always going to be wanted by anybody. Email might be handy for alerts. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could have it like if the temperature goes above this or below this, or humidity level, if the humidity level is above a certain thing. Or I mean, the other thing is you could feed in other sensors. Like you could have a flood sensor or something that's like a float thing or whatever. You know, you could tie in the float switch inside of your sump pump to that. Okay, so we have the basics. I want to get to admin. In order to get to admin, I need to be a super user. My dilemma is, do I create a new user, which will be a super user, and then I could go to admin and I could either modify the old one or delete the old one and rename the new one, or however we want to do it. Or I could probably just make the user we created a super user. So let's try that. Partially this is about learning as well. I feel like my default instinct is to just create a new user and then start using it, but I want to try to learn stuff as well. So we're going to try to see if I can modify that user I created. So we're going to go to shell. We're going to quit that right away. I would like to have pip install IPython because IPython is awesome. Now we're going to go back to shell. We have IPython now. We want switch on and off the thermostat potentially. Yeah, if you hook it in, if you connect it into that while not home. Roll your own home assistant. I mean, it's similar. Yeah, it's similar in this vein. I have a very generic idea in mind for it, so it could be used for these things certainly. We need to look up the user object, which is probably from Django. See, this is the thing. I don't know. Django auth contrib. I don't really know. This doesn't look up user. I mean, it's probably like contrib auth models, I guess. Contrib auth models import user. Gosh, that actually imported something. Kind of surprised. Me equals user. No. User.objects.get where username equals Tim C. Okay. So far, so good. Me.is super user. True. See if it will let me log in now. I think I need something else also. Able to connect. The server's not running. Took me back to we still don't have access. I think we need there's another thing. It's like oh, what is it? It's is staff. I think we need that. Still there. Oh, I have not saved yet, actually. So I'm changing these variables, but it's not saving in the database. We need to go me.save. Otherwise, it will never, ever have a chance to work on this page. So all those times I tested, we didn't actually test. But now we did, and we're in. So we are in admin. This is the stock Django admin. So part of what I was curious about was, did they build the stock? Did they like rebuild the stock Django admin using this, all of this front end? The answer to that is no, they did not. All of this stuff is stock just inside Django. Okay. So, how do we want to structure our own project? I think that we actually want to basically start home. I think I want to start a copy of this, but we are basically gonna get rid of home ultimately. Um, that's not a very good super secret key. Yeah. I'm gonna stop the server. I am gonna go CP Django Tabler up Circuit Python. We're gonna call this it needs a -r probably. We are gonna call this unimaginatively IoT server. Pi IoT server. And now there's a copy of it over there. And it has a new name, Pi IoT server. So I'm going to open that one instead. Up to date dependencies. It features up to date dependencies. That there is an entirely new major version of Django. A major release of database URL? I don't even know what that is. Partially, I want to start from actual fresh, but I think I'm just going to roll with it how it is as well. It is kind of ironic, though, that they mention that, even though it does not happen to be technically entirely true. So we're ultimately gonna, I think, turn home off, but I'm gonna keep it around for the time being, just to look at how it renders. Which is really weird, honestly. Why don't they just use render? This is so weird. I'm pretty sure this works if you just do return render request, then the template you want, home/index, and then the context, which is just context. Then you don't need either of these two lines. Pretty sure. Let's make sure it works. So technically, I copied the database as well, so we do still have our old user also. I suspect we'll be logged out, although it doesn't seem like it. Weird, actually. I'm kind of surprised we didn't get logged out, but that's part of the magic of copying databases. Is like everything is the same, so. Yeah, that definitely still worked. I don't know why. I don't know, it's a minor thing. I don't know why they did the 2-line version of that, but I kind of prefer this. We'll leave that there for now. We'll eventually probably come steal some more stuff from the home app. But the next thing I'm going to do is all of the apps are inside apps, which is interesting. Python manage.py start app. Do you just do app slash? So we'll call this, wait, yeah, this is a weird project structure. I'm not quite used to it. Having apps and templates is inside of there, which is interesting. Okay. So we'll go, our new app is going to be called apps IoT server. I don't know if it wants a slash or not. Go manage py start app inside directory. Label destination. We go start app IoT server. We just say apps. No. Maybe I don't think we would need dot slash. I don't think that part matters. Does not exist. Please create it first. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to create it. Maybe it's not supposed to be like this. Guess I can create it, but I feel like it does that. Oh, is it admin? Maybe I'm not doing. One of the things that's not done with manage py, maybe. Go admin. 3.2 we're on. Start app. Surprised this is not telling me like the command doesn't exist or something. I guess you can do it that way also. So we want startup, my app, and then the path. So please create it first. Okay, enough. I do have to run to the restroom though, so I'll be back in a minute. Oops, this is already a Git directory. We really don't. It's probably hooked up to the real repo, which is not what we want. We're gonna make our own repo ultimately. Let's do rm-r.git. Red should go away eventually, I think. It figures out that it's no longer, but we're actually going to turn it right back on anyway. So git init, empty git repository, git checkout -b main. Does this think we're on master still? Main here. I think maybe this is freaked out by the way we deleted Git? I'm not sure. I'm just gonna close that and try again. There we go, now it's in main. I want to add to this .idea/star git add.getIgnore git commit -m git ignore. And I'll just leave the rest for now. We might change more. For sure we should change this. We should generate a better one of these, definitely. I don't know why theirs is so short. The default one of those is actually much longer and much more random than that. If you just do new project inside of PyCharm, I guess. I don't know who's generating that, but much better than that one. So inside of here, we can start defining our models. Models are basically objects that are backed by the database. So one of the really cool things about Django is it has what's called an ORM, Object Relational Model. I think that stands for maybe. Basically what this means is that it uses a database. In this case, SQLite 3 is what we're using, although it can also use PostgreSQL or MySQL or other databases, I'm sure. We have a database, but instead of us having to write code like select from where, you know, all of this stuff like delete, instead of us writing SQL code, we don't have to do that. Instead, we have Python objects. So like if we look back here, oh, it's probably gone now, I guess. So it was in that other, yeah, it was in that other one. Could fire it up again. Python, so Python manage.py shell. The ORM allows us to do stuff like this. We import our object. This object represents a table in the database, and we have Python functions that we can call on this object that will actually interact with the database for us, either pull data out of the database and give it back to us as a Python object, or save data back into the database. So we're able to do things like, you know, a lookup here. This is essentially a SQL select, but instead of us having to write the SQL code, we just say user.objects.get. I want to search on the user name, and I want to search for the value temc. If I successfully find something, I want to store it in this variable called me. Once I have this variable called me, I can start doing all these different things with it. I can change its properties, I can save it, I could set a first name, I can do all these different things with it as an object, and then just call save whenever I'm ready. So that's the ORM. Django's really nice because it has that. We are going to define our own objects here. This object is the user object, which is built into Django, but we're going to define our own. The ones I'm going to have, so I'm going to try to like dance this line of generic, just generic enough, but still kind of specific. So I am going to have a model called a data source. Data source extends models dot model. Love ORMs, use SQL alchemy all the time. SQL syntax drives me crazy. Yeah, definitely agreed. Data source. So we basically now we can define fields. Our data source, it's going to have a name, which is going to be a character field with max length of 128 characters. It's going to be required to be unique? I don't think so, but unique would be probably for the better. But I think not required. Not required at the database level. Yeah, no unique. Empty, or it's called null. False. I think we don't want this to be false. Blank. Also, we don't want false. We don't want the empty string, right? We want it to be an actual string with actual characters in it. We don't have a default, which I think is okay. We basically were saying, like, it's not allowed to be empty, i.e. whenever user code creates one of these objects, it has to declare this. It's going to have to put one in order to be able to save it. So we have a name. What else do we have? We have a user, which is going to be a foreign key. So this is going to attach it back to the user object, like the user object I was manipulating in here. This way, a user will own all of their own data sources, and it will be attached in the database together. We do have to import that, which is from django.contrib.auth.models import user. Do we want anything else on the data source? I mean, we could have like a created timestamp. I don't know if that matters. Created at models.datetime default equals time zone now. That's not sure if that's the right way to do that. Okay, let's try like this. So I'm going to save that. So now this is the definition for our model. So this is basically us, telling the database kind of what we want our model to store for us. We're going to store these 3 fields. In order for it to actually be ready to go, we need to update our database because like we defined a whole new table here essentially. We need to go Python manage.py make migrations. Migrations are basically scripts that update your database from one state to another, or I should say change your database from one state to another. Often this is an upgrade, but it could actually be a downgrade or something else as well if you're getting rid of a thing that you had before or something. So make migrations is going to make those scripts for us. It says no changes detected, which is not good. We need it to detect our change. Probably the reason is that we did not add our new app into the installed apps here. This is where we would probably disable home at some point, I think. For now, I'm not going to disable it, but I am going to add IoT server, which is actually inside of apps. So we need to do that. Save that. Hopefully. And not import. No module. Does it not have an init? Does have an init. Module IoT server. Can I check the app name? Server config.name. I think that means this is probably wrong. What does it say? This does not have apps. So it needs a name. I'm guessing the name is wrong. Like maybe this needs dot, I guess, probably, right? That is homework though. Why is there no apps here? Big. Have name equals apps dot home. Config. That's weird. I don't know. Usually this I see inside of here. What's all this stuff? Should be able to run this now. Cross, nope. Foreign key. Okay, that's closer. It found our stuff. Now we just did something wrong. That is the saying, basically, we used a foreign key right here. Whenever you use a foreign key, you actually have to tell it ahead of time what it should do if that foreign key gets deleted. So if we were to create a data source, the data source is going to be linked with a user. What do we want to happen if the user gets deleted? We need to tell the system that ahead of time. In our case, what we want is we want to delete the data source. I have to go get ready for dinner. Thanks, Tim. Yep, take it easy, Dave. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. On delete, we want to just go models dot model. I don't want to set null. I want to. Oh, it's called Cascade. That's what it's called. Models.cascade. We also actually want this should also be null equals false and blank equals false. We also want every data source to always be tied to a user. There should never be a data source that is not tied to a user. So we should have those here as well. Okay, save that. Let's try again. Boom. Okay, model created. So now our migration is created. Technically, that would have created this file that it says here. Ordinarily, you don't really have to come and look in these, but this is like instructions to the database to be able to get updated to have our new model. Python managepy migrate. Boom. Now we have actually updated our database to have our new model in it. So at this point, theoretically, we could start using it. One thing that will make it a lot easier to use, though, is if we actually add it to the admin page here. So let's do that. Which I usually just copy from another app. I'm not going to lie. Boy, yeah, I totally do not know off the top of my head the syntax for that. Django register model for admin. 3 methods. Mostly we just need 1 method. Admin.site.register. This is the easiest way. If we want to, you can actually do a lot of interesting customizable stuff here to customize the admin. In our case, we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to add our model, which is data source, which we will need to import. That's all we should need to do. I don't think I need to rerun the server, but I'm going to because I'm superstitious. Does it count that I don't think I need to rerun the server if I did actually rerun the server because I'm superstitious? I feel like that probably shouldn't count. Maybe I do think you need to restart the server, but pretty sure it works if you don't. Now that we have created our new model and registered it so that it shows up in the admin site, we have this. IoT server, that's the name of our app. This would list out all the models we have. In our case, we have only a current one. ORM 1,000,000,000% is nice until it isn't. I will agree with that as well, yes. When it does go south, it's not fun. But I mean, when SQL itself goes south, it's not fun. So I feel like you're in for pain when it goes bad either way, for sure. And I prefer the ORM to the raw SQL for sure. I know that I will mess up the raw SQL more damaging ways. YouTube that we're back here. Let's create one of these things. So the easiest way for us to start testing this out is create one. So the name of this data source, it's going to be called local AHT20. I think that's it. User is going to be Tim C. Created at is got filled in automatically with the date time from the server. So we just save that. Now this will be a list of all the data source objects. It's not very useful right here because it just tells you data source object and nothing else. So we're going to go to our model and we're actually going to define the string method. Return f self.user.username self.name. I prefer knowing raw SQL specifically because if something goes south, you can fix it manually if necessary. Same if you need to port your DB to some other system. Yeah, I don't trust myself to mess with raw SQL on any of the databases that are important. Yeah. I have a number of important databases in my life that work this way, and I have always found that I can do everything I need to without raw SQL. Okay, now we have a much better listing here, the username and now the name of the data source. So now we can basically create as many data sources as we want. For the time being though, I really only need one. The next thing I want is a data value or data reading. I'm gonna go data value models dot model. This is going to have a data source. It's going to be tied back to the data source, so it's going to have source equals foreign key data source. We need all of this stuff on delete. So if the data source gets deleted, we want to delete the data value also. This should not be allowed to be null or blank. The value, I'm gonna do a JSON field because this will keep it super dynamic, right? You could store basically whatever you want to in here. I don't know what we need to pass to JSON field though, so let's look that up. Wait, no, we don't want PyPy. This is built in now, I'm pretty sure. Encoder, decoder. Might need to do this, but this might be automatic these days, I think. I don't need to pass anything, honestly. Default encoder and decoder, I don't know what they are, but they're probably fine. Yeah, we probably don't need to pass anything here, I think. So we have a data source, we have a data value. I find it convenient to have the user be tied back as well. I know technically the data value is tied to the data source, and the data source has the user, and therefore the data value already has a link to the user. I find it kind of convenient to have user here as well, though. That way, if we're working on just data values, we can still reference its user or do lookups in the database by its user without making the extra hop. Which everything's just going to be abstraction. Abstraction on abstraction for infinity. I'm definitely not doing any machine language. I thought the OBS just died there for a second. Oh, whoa, something was on this. And it died. I don't know what it was. Okay, we have a value. It's tied to the user. It's tied to the source. We want a timestamp. Which, do we want to call it timestamp, or should we call this created at? We should probably keep these the same, right? Created at defaults to current time. Type. Should we have a type as a type be part of value? So data value is going to be able to store a dictionary of things, basically, right? It's going to store some JSON for us. This could say type here, and it could be like type, you know, temperature. And then it can be like value, you know, whatever. Do we want this to be inside of here, or do we want to have type equals models dot character field? I'm gonna try like this and see if we run into problems, or see if we run into a reason why it might be better the other way. YouTube just dropped you down to 360p. I have still solid green inside OBS. That being said, I will say I was not watching it the whole time, and I don't think the history of the chart is very long, so... Oh, I did just get an OBS not responding. Actually got a while ago as well, and I just clicked wait, and we managed to stay alive, so... Did the same thing now, and hopefully that will work again. Stormcloud's looming. Oh, it's doing it again. Uh-oh. Gonna do some Saturday yard work, get it done before the downpour. Thanks for the stream. Nice way to see a way to abstract SQL. I'll catch up the remainder of the VOD. Nice. Yep, take it easy, C. Grover. Have a good day for the rest of your day. I'm gonna minimize OBS, I guess, just to not have it on the screen. Maybe that'll make it better. Picked it back up manually to 720. Okay. Beat the rain. Yeah. It's cloudy here, but I don't think it's supposed to rain. But it kind of sometimes it sneaks in on us, so. We're gonna try like this. I think we should maybe also have like units, and this would be like C or whatever, right? So do we want anything else on data value? User, the data source, the value, the raw data, timestamp of when it was created. Sounds like it to me. We're gonna save that. We're gonna go make migrations again because we have changed our database stuff. We're going to go migrate. we are going to register it for admin, data value, need to import. I think the truth is you do need to restart it, but it restarts itself, actually. Our little conundrum earlier. So now this would be tied back to the user. It would have the data source. The value would be like what we had in here, essentially. I'm pretty sure it'll format the white space for us if I just save it. I was wrong. Valid JSON. Oh, I don't have commas. Those are technically part of valid JSON. I want to get technical about it. I'm going to define a toString also right now, just because this is not a very useful list right here. User, self.user, self.data source, which is actually called source. Maybe call that data source? I don't know. Self.source. No, just name. We have the timestamp? Probably have the timestamp. I think self.created at. Do we want the raw value? I mean, sure, why not, right? Value. I'm pretty sure you can just, so I mean, I could definitely do value like this. I think I can maybe just do it like this. As long as they all have a value. Now, like, it would fail if they didn't, I think, but. Oh, just kidding. Okay, it's dictionary. We gotta do it this way. There we go. I mean, we might as well print the units if we're gonna be printing everything else too, I think, right? Units. Should there be an S there? Don't get much here in the desert, so it's weird. Weird things can happen when we do. People act strangely too, yeah. Pagan rituals, yeah. Some crazy folks in the rain. Okay. So that is kind of the basics of what I want in order to store the data. At this point, I need to get data into the system, and then we can start building the pages that show us the data. How do we want to get data into the system? And when do we want to move this to the Pi and start running it there? Because right now we are running this on my local PC here. I want to get it, I think I want to get it to the Pi, and I want to at least attempt to load data from the sensor. So before I move it to the Pi, I am going to add a management command. which you do by making a folder. Management command. New package management. Package command. And then we can make a new command in here called read local. Read data. Do this, I think. I think I want to create a Boolean on here called local. Let's go true by default. Technically, we could be putting a string here as well for all of these that would be formatted more pretty. These will get used in the admin. Not really necessary, because it does it based off the name of the field, which is pretty much what we're doing anyway, so. I'm gonna go ahead and migrate the database with that. I need to save the file first. I'll use for on delete. We're not supposed to do names on the foreign key ones. So local would be true or false, like the sensor that's plugged into the I2C bus on the Pi, that one is local. But I also have in mind like a feather that is not connected to the Raspberry Pi physically. Our camera's still going? Yeah. So we could have a feather like this, ESP32, S2, it has a Wi-Fi chip. This could also count as a data source, and it could send data over the Wi-Fi network. So that one would be local false, and we would have a post request endpoint for it to submit its data values. For the local data, though, I'm going to define this command, which is going to read the sensor, just like we did before. At some point, we will want to abstract this some because obviously not everyone is going to have the exact same kind of sensor that I do. So this is going to need some mechanism where they can like define which sensor they have, or maybe they could define a script that takes a reading from the sensor and then returns it back to this or something. I don't know. Somehow we'll have to work out a more dynamic way. For now, though, I'm actually going to basically just copy what we had before. We don't really need time, though. We're also not going to need the while true loop. So when this command gets run, we are going to initialize the I2C bus, initialize the sensor, take a reading for temperature and a reading for humidity. So we want to, we're actually going to create two new data values. We're going to create a temperature reading equals a new data value. We need to have our data source. So source equals data source dot objects dot get. I mean, for now, I'm just gonna look it up by its name, but obviously, like, eventually we'll need a better way to do that. We're gonna look up our data source. We are gonna create a new data value, which has the source of our source. It has the user of our same user as the source. And it has local true. No, that's on the source. Also, local does not have an E at the end. That was locale. It would have value, but I think I'm gonna do that in the next line. We would save that. And then we basically want to do the same thing again, but for the humidity. I don't know what units that's in. Percents. Should we just do a this one? This should be called humidity reading. Okay, so we are going to create a data value for the temperature reading. We're going to create a data value for the humidity reading. Both of those are going to get filled in with the current values from the sensor and then saved. Sounds good to me. So I'm going to save this. I am going to add all the stuff to the repo. We want to add the database. I think that I will go ahead and actually add the database for now. So, fair warning, technically, like I'm about to push this to GitHub, technically this does still not have a good secret key in it, so you should certainly not really use this on an actual server on the internet. but it's good enough for what I'm going to do. And ultimately, the Pi should get its own key anyway, so I think I'll move it over to there, and we'll generate that later on. But Git serves as a good way to get it into Pi. So we are going to go to GitHub. Go new repository. Raspberry Django IoT server. It will be public. It already has a README. It already has a git ignore. It already has a license. MIT present? Seed generator. So theirs would be for the template, which we did start from, but ours would be for our Pi IoT server, which is for me. 2023. Call that Django tablet readme instead of readme, because we will eventually actually have our own readme. Okay, everything is added. We probably would not want to commit that stuff in there too. Yeah. Email stuff. That would be for either. Got a bunch of static stuff that technically we don't need ultimately, because it also still contains the entire demo site. Again, we'll eventually turn off, but 24 to-dos. Critical project you did within 2 hours. Would have taken me weeks to figure out how to set up Django to run on the Pi. If I ever feel like running Django on my new Pi, I'll know exactly which video. Yeah, I have a lot of experience with Django, I will say. I can do it pretty quick at this point, but I have done it several times. This is back to the Pi. This should have content now, so let's clone that over on the Pi. Just put it in home. I think Yeah, I think I'll just put it in home. So git clone. Okay, we can go inside of there. We need to install everything in requirements. Technically, we should probably add Blinka to requirements as well, since our command is trying to use Blinka. But I suppose it depends on how that mechanism works. I would like it to be generic enough that the person can make their own script for reading from their own sensor. That way our server doesn't necessarily need to know about how they interact, or if it's I2C or SPI or digital or analog or anything else. Like, I'll have to think about how that can be linked together now. Okay, so that should have installed everything. We should be able to start testing by going python manage.py run server. But that might run on localhost, actually. I think we want to go... I think we want to actually go manage.py run server. I think we want this. I need sudo or something. Not a valid port number or address port pair. I mean, I guess that's technically true. Again, if we want to get all technical about it. Okay. This means that it should be visible to other devices on my local network, like my PC. What was the IP of this? I do not... I don't recall. Go back to this window, which we have not used in a very long time. But it is dutifully still here, just sitting in the background for us. It's 119. So theoretically, we should be able to go to 192.168.1.119, port 8000. Not bad. So this page got served by the Pi. This page got served by the Pi. You can see it's Python 3.9, which is what's running on the Pi, as opposed to 3.10, which is what's running on my PC. Also, you can see the Pi's file path here. This is telling us that it's an invalid host. That is a thing that exists inside of the settings file. I think what we want to do is start a branch right now called new branch Pi. This is going to be the branch I'm going to use on the Pi, which might end up diverging from the branch that I use on my local PC. On the Pi, it is going to allow some more allowed hosts, like... Honestly, we don't need any of this. Well... I don't know if zeros works. I don't think zeros will work. Yeah, unfortunately, we would either have to do like a star, is not ideal, or we would have to set it to this, which technically could change. Neither of which are necessarily great options, but we'll do that one. We could like try to run IP adder and then use that value in here. That would be crazy. This is a Pi file. Like, it will get executed. We could actually dynamically generate this, but I'm not gonna get that. I'm not gonna go that fancy. We're just gonna hard code it for now. Put that, save it, commit it, update allowed posts for pi, push new branch pi. Yep, push that back to our pi. We are gonna stop the server. Control C. We are gonna go git fetch. It's probably called origin. Could just do git fetch maybe. Git remote dash v, git remote rename origin foamy guy. Git checkout pi. Okay. No, that says new to a new branch. That's not what we want. Oh, tracked remote branch. Okay, it's new local branch, but it came from remote. Yeah. Cat core settings. Okay, perfect. As our updated one of this. Let's try that again. There we go. Same user because I copied the database. Bamba lamba. Same data source and data value, also because I copied the database. But we have our management command, so theoretically on the pi, which I will make a new SSH2 over here. Theoretically, we should be able to go python manage.py and then whatever we named our command, which was... Oh, do we need apps? That works, actually. Read data local. Theoretically, we should be able to go python manage py read data local. Fingers crossed. Also didn't have it print anything, so I don't really know if it's successful, although I'd be pretty sure that it was not successful because like it failed. Okay, BRB, gotta run to the restroom again. Okay, I am back. Let's check in on OBS is still running. Be ashamed to get back and have that not be the case. Okay, why does it not recognize our command? My guess is something... We probably need to tell it the app somehow. So maybe we need apps, or maybe we need... Put IoT server? We have a handle function. Oh, handle function. I have totally only copied like none of the code and then just decided it should work. And obviously that's not. Not gonna do anything with arguments yet. Eventually though, inside arguments it could be like, that could somehow be how we link to their own custom sensor, right? Right now this is all very hard-coded, but maybe there's arguments where they define a script that actually does the reading like this. That way they're decoupled from the server. I don't know exactly how they'll link together, but help. This would be back here. And base command. Need to do anything else? You have to like register? We're gonna make a copy of it called read data local mock. Which is gonna do the same stuff except for big data. This way I can run it on my PC and it will tell me if it is able to work or not. Ooh. I'm gonna write a test for it. I want to call it. Let's see here. You have a complex mapping of joined tables. Need to query the parent based on the complex relationships. It allows you dynamic design. Doesn't really map to either real object or RDMS for one. RDBMS. That's the question. What's an example of how it can go south? Yeah, I did not miss that actually, or I should say I did miss that when you said it before. On the SQL side of things, I would say an example of how it could go south though is just like if you are writing SQL and you're not careful, you can be vulnerable to injection vulnerabilities, right? Like people can inject malicious SQL into your stuff. Whereas this, like, I'm not writing any SQL. None of my users are ever writing any strings that ultimately get executed as SQL, so we're not vulnerable to that kind of thing, to that type of attack. It's not to say that there aren't other ways to cause harm to the system. There certainly are, but if we are not writing the SQL code ourselves. And I guess the big if there is like if the ORM code inside Django is trustworthy, right? If there are vulnerabilities within it where it does execute unsanitized strings, then obviously we share those because we're using Django. But the idea here is Django is a widely used public project with its own like foundation and funding and bug bounties and all kinds of things that hopefully would ease out those kinds of issues. Where is it? Okay, how do we run ours? As core, should we have put it in core? I feel like it should be inside app still. Works though. Management and did I misspell management or commands? Management. Oh, is it commands? Ah, commands. S. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, let's go open in files. Right here, commands. Side, I guess I'll rerun it. I don't know. It should probably not need that, but thank you. Have a home server for CircuitPython environmental sensing nodes, weather stations written in Flask, which is just endpoints the aim.json files at, and it stores everything as JSON. As a result, I wanted to find a better database or just an actual database to store it. This is helpful. Sanitize everything. It's minefield. Several document style databases that run quite well. Most of them have REST API. It's relatively easy to talk to. Couchbase, Go, and MariaDB are popular alternatives. Yeah, MariaDB I think is the MySQL or alternative. I guess it's like, where did I hear that before? Postgre I've used as well with Django. After seeing this, I'm definitely interested in using a set of SQL projects in the future. ORM, I think in there. Okay, management commands. Hopefully that will get us there. I don't think we need that IoT. I think it should work like this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that it ran the command. It did fail, but that's because it tried to import board. It obviously doesn't exist. Not import those in the mock one anyway, and we should not do this in the mock one because it's a mock and not real. Now it should run, and it should have created a data value. Yeah. I don't know which one. Oh, it's the two new ones on the top there, I guess. Or I should have maybe not used the exact same numbers before, but that's all right. Let's go. Come on. Doing. Yeah, MongoDB. Everyone uses it. Nobody likes it. I have not tried out MongoDB myself yet. So far, like all of my quote-unquote real Django projects start out with SQL database, SQLite, and then upgrade to Postgre whenever they get deployed and have multiple users. CouchDB instead of Couch. Okay, this is working now, so the other one should work as well. We do need to add those stuff to our... So this is where it does get tricky now, though, because Git is not very good at we don't want our database to keep updating with Git, basically. It was convenient to carry it over there the first time, but I think we want to get rid of it now. So let's go copy the database up one, just so we have a backup of it. And then we're gonna go git remove -- cached db.sqlite3 git rm So this goes back to red. I could turn this back on so that it will be ignored and therefore not added. Can commit this. Nope, not yet. We can go to apps, IoT server management, Control-Alt-A for adding all the stuff inside of there, and then we can commit this. Those are now inside commands with an S. Database has been removed. I think it's going to get deleted when we pull, but then we're going to copy it back in. Then after that, we shouldn't have to worry about it. We committed those to main. I'm then going to go to Pi. I'm going to merge main into Pi so that we get those changes over into Pi. I'm going to commit Pi. Push that back onto our Raspberry Pi. We're going to go git pull. Local changes. So I already copied that out. Got a copy of that up there. I'm just going to go rm-db.sqlite3. It's probably not going to want to do that actually because the server is running. We're going to Control-C the server here. rm-db.sqlite3. Take an extra minute and just make sure that's what we want to do, since that's obviously not generally what we want to do. Is a very dangerous command. In this case, though, that is exactly what we want to do. Try to get pull again. Okay. Now it has updated data. It has no database, though, so we're going to go cp this back into here. And we shouldn't have to mess with that anymore, I don't think. Be able to run the server again. So this tab is the one that's on the Raspberry Pi with its 119. This tab is on localhost, which is on the PC, which I'll close for now. That's running now, and then theoretically we should finally be able to go python manage.py read data local, or whatever it's called. Yeah, read data local. Outmock read data local. Fingers crossed. Doesn't print anything, so yeah, we don't really get to know right away if it was successful, but we should have new values here when I refresh. Nice. With actual data. Very precise data, I might add. Those decimals are gonna guess outside or within the, what do they call this? The range of operable range or error rate or whatever. Like, it surely is not actually that precise. Some of these numbers have to be made up somewhere. That's all right. So we now have a management command that will take a single reading for us. So I think what I want to do is I think I'm actually going to end up wrapping up here pretty soon. But where I'm going to leave it is I'm going to set up a cron job to run our management command on a schedule once per minute or 5 minutes. I think I'm going to run it once per minute for now, but we might eventually back it off to once per 5 minutes. This will just run for a while and then load up the database with lots of data. Once we have lots of data, it will be much easier to come back and start building the front end to view that data. why we chose HTTPS. Okay, that's what we want though. Why it's really does not want to go to oh, I think maybe I didn't have the port, I guess. But ultimately I want a dashboard like this that's going to show me like how many data sources do you have, what's the most recent reading from each data source, or of each type, I guess, because I want the most recent reading of temperature and I want the most recent reading of humidity. And then I want a line chart or something like this, right, that plots it over time, temperature and humidity, maybe a high and a low for the last 24 hours or something. Those are the main things I want on it on the front end, but all of that stuff is going to be easier when we have more data in the system. So that's the plan. We get this into cron, and then I call it for now. Next time that I work on this, we have all that data. We can do the front end. Let me catch up on the chat over here as well. Flat file DBs will only get you, but so far with the small server, perfectly valid for home light use. Eventually the flat files fill up fast and you look for a real database back in. You have to figure out what flavor or whether or not it's embedded or server and where said the server lives. NAS are usually good targets for Docker images. IS comes with all pro versions for Windows. More Swiss cheese than anything running on Linux. Yeah, I have used IIS a teeny tiny little bit, and I hated mostly every second of it. At some point, we will be setting up Nginx on the Raspberry Pi to act as a proxy for our Django app. That will not be today. But IIS, yeah, the few times I've used IIS, I've just been wishing I was back to Nginx land. You do realize you could do all this with Whippersnapper. Yeah, 100% I realize I could do all this with Whippersnapper. The idea here is the exercise in creating the server for myself and getting it to all run on the Pi and do all of this stuff. Really nice. Thanks for streaming to it. I'll be referring to this VOD a lot to explore Django. Nice. Django alt to the Flask server. Yeah. If you are familiar with Flask, Django is very, very similar, but has so many extra like built-in batteries, so to speak, just stuff that's done that comes for free without you having to build it, like the users, the admin management, this whole UI right here, like Django just includes this. It's kind of like Flask with a bunch of added bits and pieces that make it really nice that you end up usually wanting anyway. Although sometimes Flask has its place as well. For super duper simple APIs, Flask is really nice because of the exact opposite reason. It sheds all those things. If you're not going to actually use all of that stuff, it's nice to start with Flask instead of Django as well. But if you want users and you know you're going to have a database, you know you're going to want the ORM and all this stuff, like you can hook up Flask to do all of that stuff as well too. Flask is so nice because it's like Swiss Army knife, basically. You can hook it up however you need. So we're gonna basically, I want to see, can you add, I don't know if I can run can I run this command while the server is not running? I think so, right? Then unfortunately I do kind of just have to like start up the server again in order to see if it worked or not, but yeah, that worked. Okay, so we can run that command even when the server is not running, which is nice. Obviously, like in the final iteration, this would automatically run on boot up, so it would just always be running basically, but for right now we don't want that. We do want our cron job to keep running though. For that, I am just going to say cron once per minute. Sudo cron tab -e nano. A random cron? My goodness. That sounds dangerous. And not paste. Oh, it did, okay. I wish there was an example of a command after this. Path to your script. I think it would just be Python for the path. Manage.py. Is it read data local? Save. Pretty sure that just takes effect automatically, I believe. So what I'll do is restart up the server and then hang out for another minute or two and just hopefully see some new data show up in the database. And then once we see that, we know that we are good to go. Right now, we don't have any new data. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is cool. We will wait until 1, 2, 3, 5 and see if we get some new data. Also, I will check on this and see if there's some kind of like, did I have done, did we have not done sudo potentially? I'm not sure. Might not have wanted to do sudo. Doesn't look like there's any kind of like cron update or anything though. I was gonna say, do we need to run some file or run some command, I should say, to update it, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Don't have it yet. Where's the cron logs? One of my favorite parts of electronics programming projects is how vastly different everyone's design becomes. Similar-ish web server and utility, but vastly different in design and implementation. It's exciting to get to look at. My web server is boring and plain on the web page, but open to some nice e-ink plots around the house. Nice. Yeah, no, that looks really cool. I like the way you've got it there. Black and white action going on. That would look great on an e-ink screen. Okay, let's try one more time. 1, 2, 3, 6 now. Yeah, I think it's failing probably. We need to find the, I think maybe we probably shouldn't have done sudo, I'm guessing. Cron log Linux. Var log syslog. Grep cron. Tail -n 100 var log syslog cron command no MTA installed, discarding output. No MTA installed, discarding output. Does that mean it failed? Your cron info, yeah. There's no output from your cron job. Oh, there is output. Okay. I think it failed. It failed. I guess is if we were to go sudo this command will fail. Module not found Django. Because Django was not installed for sudo. Sudo cron tab -e. Copy this. I am going to comment it out so that it does not run as sudo anymore, and I'm just going to go cron tab -e nano. Paste this back to here. Exit, yes, save. Okay, so this time it ran as timc, and it doesn't say that thing, which means I think that it did not have output, which is more like what we're expecting. So refresh. We still do not have any new data. Maybe that was not actually executing. Maybe that was just saying, like, we found a new command. So yeah, hopefully we'll see. Try to execute. Say reload. Okay. We go dash F. Then it would keep running. Seems like it did run again, but we did not get any new data. It is still failing. Actually put data in the database. And now it's not having any output. It have some print statements or something. On the pot. Oh, Wi-Fi something happened. There's our cron command. I don't have any new data. That's weird. So the same exact command works outside of cron? Seems like it works inside of cron. Doesn't output any errors, but just side effects that it causes doesn't happen. Wiggle sensors. Or behind. Who shares 7.5 inch hurricane time? Uh-oh. So good. Stay safe. Calibrate. Boy, I don't really have any idea. Wi-Fi stuff quite a bit. Well, I don't know. I might not be solving this right now. NG. Full path to Python. I feel like I've done this before. There is no user environment variable in cron job, only log name. When manage.py is run with a management command specified, Django quietly fails over to blank settings if an exception is raised during the import of the settings module. My settings module was trying to reference os.environ.user, which doesn't exist in cron's environment. Like installed apps and no celery. It's the solution. Environment variables. Celery. I don't want to use anything. I just want to use cron. Anything else that's referencing env? So Django, I mean, it needs, I guess, the environment variable. I feel like I've done this before and didn't have to set up anything else. I don't know what's got me tripped. I mean, I guess I could make a shell. Could do that. I don't feel like I should have to CD because we used the full path here. I don't have a virtual environment, so we don't need to start the virtual environment. The server does constantly run. I'm trying to run a cron job that takes a reading from the sensor that's plugged in via I2C. And I want it to run automatically through cron so that it will generate data so that I can come back later and build a front end to view my data. And my command works when I run it manually, but frustratingly does not do anything when cron runs it. I'm kind of running out of steam to problem solve it, truthfully. I guess I could do this, but I don't think it's gonna work, and I don't think it should be required anyway, so I kind of don't want to do it. But I guess I could try it. Usually when I just don't feel like trying stuff that I find that might work, it means I need to just take a break for a while, so that might be what we do. Kind of a bummer because I would like it to build some data for me while I'm not messing with it. Uses a different path. Why does it use my user and not my path? Also, why does it not output like Python not found or something, right? Like if that's the error, then that means it didn't find Python. Theoretically, we fix by doing this, but why no error? And if it's running it as me, why does it behave different than me when I just run it? World may never know. Somebody probably knows. I'm not that somebody. I don't. Does it run automatically? It doesn't look like it. End edit. So it knows that I edited it. So we'll wait and see if it runs again. Still have the same ones here. After it runs, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have new ones. More success with a Pi by running etc. RC local. You're more familiar with cron. I am a little bit more familiar with cron. I've set stuff up like this on other servers. I guess I could go look in on the other server as well to see how I did it in the past. This thing with Python, this was, my guess is this hopefully was probably the issue. I should familiarize myself with other stuff, true though, because like beyond having experience with cron, I don't have any like allegiance to it. I would easily switch if there was something better that I could get familiar with. Hugo doesn't have a way to run a cron job from the dashboard or tabular. No. Django by itself doesn't have any kind of, are you serious? Django by itself doesn't have any kind of ongoing thing. You can do Celery, and then you can run tasks on a schedule like this with Celery, which is what one of those answers was talking about. But I don't really want to do that. I don't feel like it should be necessary. I think this should work. This does work on some of my servers and projects. I just need to figure out what I've done differently, I guess. I mean, obviously it's different because it's the sensor. For one thing, we should just put some printouts in it. Let's try the mock one. Try the mock one, actually. That would tell us if it's... That would tell us if it is just not running the command at all, or if it is running the command but the sensor is failing, potentially. Try mock. If mock works, that means that our command is running but the sensor is failing. So then we know that that's what we need to troubleshoot. If this one also fails, then we know that our command is not actually like running successfully. And we still know what we need to troubleshoot. Something different. Either way, though, honestly, I'm probably wrapping it up. I would like to figure out to make this run, but I don't really have much patience right now for it, truthfully. Yeah, still didn't work. Okay, so it's probably not running whatever for some reason. But like that command works perfectly, so we need to figure out why that command works perfectly when I run it, but not when Cron runs it. I don't know the best way to do that, but what I do know is that's a problem for future Tim. I am heading out for now. Thanks for hanging out, folks. I know this was a bit of a different kind of a thing that I don't normally stream, but I was interested in working on this today, so this is what we got. It kind of ties back with Blinka and some of the other stuff. Ultimately, we'll have the microcontrollers submitting data as well, so it will tie in that way in the end as well, but that's what we got for now. I will be back probably at some point tomorrow. I will stream some tomorrow, and I should be back on Friday for the deep dive for sure. I don't know exactly when the next time I'll work on this is. I want to get it working, at least collecting data, so hopefully sometime later on today I can get back to this with fresh eyes and get it collecting data, because I would like to get back to it and build out the dashboard side a bit, but might be a path issue. Yeah, I'm guessing that's the case. Based on those answers I saw where it was saying that the path is different, I am guessing that that's got to be the case, but I don't know what is I don't know which thing would be in my path that would somehow make it work versus not, basically. So we'll have to mess with that somehow. Import sys print path.sys. We could try that. Yeah, good idea. Print it out path, that way we know where we're at. Yeah, good idea. We'll do that when I get back to troubleshooting. Fantastic stream to watch. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I'm glad folks enjoyed it. I'm glad we didn't really use the pie screen, I guess, all that much. It was sitting back here. I'm glad that this works, even though we do have to change around the cameras a bit and take me away so that it's not quite as slow. This is cool as well, though, to be able to get this set up. Theoretically, we could use this on that Feather, is it Feather DVI or whatever, the one with the HDMI port on the end there? Theoretically, we could capture that with this thing as well. So it's another kind of thing one of these days we'll use this capture for. So it was good to get that tested out. So I will see you all later. Thanks.